That's the thing that has really shaped who I am. Like, there wasn't always this, yay, you're gay. There was definitely like a, I'm sorry, what? And, you know, I've been slammed against alley walls. I've been told all the gamut of things about being a lesbian. And I still look at people and I'm like, I see you.
Welcome to Pride Stories, the podcast, where we celebrate the entire spectrum of experiences that make up the LGBTQ plus community. I'm your host, Max Kingan from Tellwell Story Co and Studio. On this podcast, we're committed to creating a safe, supportive, and inspiring space for our guests and listeners alike. So join us as we explore the heartwarming, sometimes painful, and always inspired stories that make us who we are. Welcome to Pride Stories, the podcast, where we celebrate the entire spectrum of the LGBTQIA plus community. We believe that everybody has a story to share, and it deserves to be heard. I'm Max Kingan, Chief Storyteller at Tellwell Story Co and Studio, and in studio with me today, I have my dear friend, Sara Mozingo. Hi, Sara.
Hi.
How are you?
I am lovely, and I'm excited to be here hanging out with you.
So right before we hopped on, you mentioned being a little nervous.
I am a little nervous.
Why are you a little nervous?
I don't know. It's not often I'm a guest on a podcast.
That's fair, because you host a couple of podcasts.
Yeah, and so it's fun to be on this side of the table. I usually sit where you're sitting, and here we are.
I also love that you typically come from a coaching role, and a lot of our relationship has been where you have been my coach.
Yep.
As well, where like you're like, I get to ask you the questions, I get to challenge you.
Yeah.
Well, I won't challenge you in this podcast.
I don't believe you, and that's, I think, the problem.
Well, fair. I might just provide some friendly observations, then we can riff on.
Love that.
From there. So, Sara, to start with, how do we know each other? Let's start there.
Let's start with how weird it is to hear you call me Sara. That's also.
Oh.
That's what's blowing my mind right now.
You know, that's funny because I guess casually I always refer to you as Mo.
Yeah.
And it's not until we're in like a formal setting that I'm like, hello, Ms. Mozingo. Like, what? Actually, Mozingo feels more familiar than Sara.
That actually, it's one of those things. It's like, oh, wait, where are we? What's happening?
Well, Mo,
yeah.
How do we know each other?
So that is of debate.
Oh.
So I thought our first meeting was at fall retreat. And you were slinging some caramel apples. And I don't remember why, but I was like, I feel like we need to know each other. And we started talking. You reflected to me that you were at summer camp.
Yeah.
And disclaimer, summer camp is not always a sober experience.
Fair.
So I don't recall as much of summer camp as I do fall retreat. And then...
fair. Very fair.
So yeah, but then we just became friends. And then I owned a gym. And you were like, hey... I'd like some help with my fitness. And I was like, hey, I would love some help with my branding. Mm-hmm. And I've been going strong since.
We have.
Yeah.
So my first memory of you was, I think it was at summer camp, because there were like the fitness kids, and like, this is a very inclusive summer camp.
Yes.
Right? Like, there are not actually fitness kids, but those are perceptions that we put on ourselves, which oftentimes play into a variety of personas and just how we view ourselves, how we interpret the world. And at that time, I was not a fitness kid, but one of my best friends was a fitness kid.
Yeah.
And so he had kind of found his tribe in that. And I was like, great, they're going to go do CrossFit things at 8 a.m. See you later. I'm going to go read a book.
I'm going to not do that.
I'm going to not do that.
Yeah.
So that's my first memory of you.
Yeah, we were leading boot camps and summer camp. And then we learned very quickly that Sunday was, let's just go for a walk, everybody. Just go for a 9 a.m. walk. Yeah.
See, if I would have known that's like the insider knowledge, I'd have been like, let's go. That's my fitness.
Yeah.
That's my kind of fitness. So, Mo, for people that don't know you, who is Mo?
Oh my goodness, I'm a being.
I'm a being.
Yeah. That is very much in transition right now. So I'm a person that like loves to just dive in and have serious conversations. Not very good at the small talk. Love to just get to the nitty gritty. I had a friend reflect to me the other day. He's like, you know how some people are like, I want to be frank with you. He's like, I'm just going to get you a t-shirt that says I'm frank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love to have deep conversations. Recently in like employment transition, which has been fun and exciting and frustrating and all the things that happen in transition. And I'm a person that loves to just really be around people. Not always large groups of people, but I love people.
Yeah, you're really built for that like small group one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like, let's get deep. Let's be in a setting where we can go deep.
Yeah.
So can you take us back to some of early Mo and what influences made Mo who she is today?
Ooh, I have been very fortunate through up until college. I had a variety of amazing coaches in my life. And so I've sports balled my whole life. I have yay sports. So I found basketball at a very young age and come from a divorced family. Mom, this was I'm older, so like 90s. Mom worked, she had 3 kids. And so before school, after school, I was like, get yourself to school, get yourself home, stay alive. And I found basketball in that at a very, very young age. And that led to also like t-ball. And I played 6 sports in high school. And I was so fortunate to have some really amazing coaches starting in grade school. Our janitor was like he started basketball program in our school I think I grew up with like 12 people in my class. And he would host a little after school thing once or twice a week. And then from there, I had awesome high school coaches that just really helped me see the world in a different way. I gravitated towards sports. I don't think I went to a single high school party. I didn't prom it up. I didn't do any of those things because I was just so focused on the next chapter. And then I got into college and that changed a lot. And that was I think a lot of people find themselves in college if they go. And through challenging coaches, challenging environment, that really shifted a lot of what I thought about sports. Playing at a Division I level with coaches that were not the best. We ended with a good one, but there were some really rough times in there. And so I'd say, gosh, if we're going percentage-wise, 80% of my team was gay, lesbians. And so I hadn't come out yet. So just really like total finding myself through college. Yeah.
Were your teammates out?
Yeah. Out to the team.
Out to the team.
I don't know if they were necessarily out to their family and all, but definitely out to the team. Yeah.
Did they create a safe space for you to land, or were you still like, no, I still like dudes?
So I played the dude card until my senior year. And then I was actually friends with more people outside of my team than on my team. And so there were a few people that were definitely a safe space to land. And then there were a few that were definitely a rocky, sharp-edged place to land. Yeah.
So as we talk about your team, I feel like we skipped over one kind of key part. This is not your first experience with Pride Stories. You are a Pride Story alum of our inaugural season, which was a video series, which you did with your partner.
I did, with my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that experience? What was that like?
I'm also just reflecting that I met my wife at that same summer camp, so that's fun. Yeah.
You met me and your wife at the summer camp? Oh.
Just all the beautiful people.
I love that.
Yeah. That was a really amazing experience to do with her. That's something that I think your partner's story, but there's something to bring that to the world together that's really powerful. We also had our own podcast at the time, and so it was really cool to like just kind of reflect on how we commingle together in that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, her story is drastically different than mine.
Yeah.
And so it was really fun to my wife is the joy. She is the go-getter. She is the loud one. She is when she's in the room. And I always like sit back and like make sure everything's good. And so it was really cool to like have both of us just express all of that.
What is it like? How is it different doing a Pride Story solo versus together.
I think that's why I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife is really great at taking the spotlight, and I love that about her. Yeah. And so it's like, oh, it's just me.
It's just us.
And Max in a room.
Yeah. Very intimidating.
Very intimate.
Very intimate. That's one of the things that I love about podcasts. And I think that's one of the reasons that both you and I gravitate towards podcasts, and we both consume a lot of audio content because it is very intimate, right? Like you're inviting somebody into your very, very personal space, usually like your earbuds, right? And they are right there and you're inviting somebody in. But I think that's also one of the things that makes you a really great podcast host and a really great coach is like, you don't take that intimacy and that trust for granted.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting. I'm gonna, I don't know where we're going with that, but I'm gonna sideswipe a little bit.
Go ahead.
I think that's one of the things, especially as we're talking about a pride story, is the opportunity. Like, it's when I was coming out, it was you have to come out. You have to come out to people. You have to exit the closet and be like, hi, I'm here. And I don't know what show, podcast, whatever it was that reflected inviting people in. And so what if we didn't come out? What if we let people in? And that has forever changed the way I've looked at it. Because it's not it can be a declaration of who you are. It can also be like, I trust you enough to let you in. And I think that that's something that people don't always understand. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're like, no, just show me who you are. And I'm like, I'm letting you into like my deepest goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that has anything to do with our generational approaches to really the alphabet mafia, right? Like you and I, we are elders in the alphabet mafia.
Yeah.
Where a younger generation, which I absolutely love that they have the opportunity, they announce it oftentimes proudly, right? Mm-hmm. And they can figure that out from a very young age, that they can be themselves and do that in a different way than what it maybe feels like we could do in the 90s and early 2000s.
Absolutely. It feels more conversational today, which I absolutely love. And it's cool a lot of my friends growing up were older lesbians, and to hear like how they thought I had it conversationally. Right. And now to look at the generations now that are like, oh, I date a boy today, I date a girl tomorrow. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. Right. And it's so casually conversational. Yeah. And that is so beautiful. And I actually had the privilege of a train ride to Montana this summer. And I sat next to a gentleman who was in his early 70s, who was also gay and African American. And he shared his story. And he shared his story of the word queer and how conversational it is today. Yeah. And how it was so derogatory then. And it was interesting to hear and this happens in movements, I feel like, is that there's gratitude that it's happening and disdain that it happens. Yeah. And they're mixed together. It's like this conversion of emotions, right? Like, I'm so happy we got here. Dang it, don't you see what we did? And I think that was such a beautiful opportunity to, like, he was almost like Harvey Milk era. Like, you were getting dragged out and taken to the police and maybe seen, maybe not seen again, right? Like, it was such a different era. And also the opportunity for him to start to feel safe enough to be conversational. Right? And that happened for me just casually mentioning I have a wife, which would not have happened if my wife wasn't so comfortable sharing rainbows with the world, right? And it led the door for him to start speaking that way. And both of us being very aware of the guy opening a wine bottle with a pocket knife behind us, right? And so that it was such an interesting dichotomy on the train and such a really cool experience.
I love when we get to have those experiences, especially with our elders. And I think those little moments are really powerful, and they're very reaffirming of who we are and being proud and being more open. And like you said, inviting people in to that open door versus shouting it like, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
So speaking of, hey, look at me, one thing that you are excellent at, and you will probably help me do a couple of times during this podcast, is you'll be really good at deflecting onto somebody else's story. So far, we have an old man, we have your wife. Fair enough.
You brought that up. I just diverted to the train.
Fair enough. You know what? I will give you that. But I'd love to dig a little bit more back into Mo.
Great.
And so you had talked about your kind of coming out story started to happen in college.
Correct.
So what was that like? You're a college athlete. You're on a team. I'm going to put this, maybe paint a broad brush. You're on a team full of lesbians and you're still like, I love dudes. So what made the transition?
So there was one dude.
One dude. Okay.
Just dude.
I love dude.
Let's just be clear. There was just one.
Okay.
And we were together for 3 or 4 years. And there was always there was never the connection. And people talk about fireworks, people talk about all those things, and those were so fleeting for us. And he was just a good, solid guy. And yet there was always that curiosity. And when you're surrounded by a whole team full of lesbians, and I was driving with one of my closest friends. She was not on the team. And we were going back to her hometown for some dinner or something, college. And she's like, I just need to tell you you're gay. And I was like,
oh,
excuse me? She's like, trust me, I know a lot of gay people and you are one of them. And I was like, what? What is this coming from? What?
Yeah.
And that was not the first time that's happened to me. And I was like, interesting. And then I'm not exactly sure where the switch switched. Yes, I am. I had to think back. I have a terrible memory. Anyway, one of my teammates, we shared a wall, college, and every time she would thump the wall twice, I'd be like, okay, I can come over, we can talk, right? And so dude was over and thump on the wall twice. And I was like, I can come over. What do you need? And she's like, oh my God, no. They were getting freaky in the room and happened to thump the wall twice. And dude looked at me and he goes, I'm so glad you're not like that. And we talked about how you can't snap, but that's what it was like. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I'm just glad you're not like that. And I was like, what's that? I was like, I think you gotta go. And he was really confused, dude. And I was like, no, I really think you gotta go. And he laughed. And I was like, interesting. And it was literally like a light bulb went off. And I was like, what if I am like that? And then I gave myself permission to find out if I was like that. Turns out, I am.
Turns out, card carrying, Subaru driving.
Married, yeah. Lesbian. But it was in that moment. And it was so wild because it was such a and I'm sure, looking back, it makes sense why all my friends are like, how did we get here? And I'm like, I don't know. I just know we're here.
I love the backstory. I love early Mo. You've had a pretty incredible life so far, outside looking in.
Thank you.
Seen a lot of things. You've been a lot of places. You have an incredible partner. You are navigating through the launch and the loss of a business.
Yeah.
You are, I think, doing a beautiful job of finding your footing again and launching into what's next. Right. Mm-hmm. All this time though, you're also doing the work with coaches, with feelings. We talk about feelings a lot.
I'm a big feeler.
Big feeler.
Yeah.
And so as you think back over not just the last 3 or 4 years that we've known each other, but longer than that, like, what are you proud of?
I'm proud of the way I show up. And I think, like, as you were talking, I'm ruminating on what my pride story is. And my story revolves a lot around resilience. It's been fun having been on the other side of doing the work. And that's a lifelong thing. Like, don't get me wrong, but I went hard in the paint for about 2 years. I really worked with a mentor and dug up all kinds of goodness. And being able to look back and see how, like, through the journey of playing basketball, I've had 6 knee surgeries. I've had 2 blown ACLs in a time where in women's sports, that wasn't a thing you came back from. Having lost a teammate while playing college basketball, I lost quite a few friends when I came out. And yet there's still, like, that excitement and drive. And, like, that's the thing I'm most proud of, is, like, it does take some time. And as you get older, it takes a little bit, like, I slept a lot when I closed and sold parts of the gym. There's still that true belief in people. That's what I'm most excited about. I have such a deep want to bring out the best in people. And that's, I believe, what is the solid foundation of my wife and I, is that we have this unrelenting drive to help people see the best in themselves. Going through the gamut, like, of coming out in the 2000s, right? And maybe knowing I was gay in the 90s. There wasn't always this, yay, you're gay. There was definitely like I'm sorry, what? And, I've been slammed against alley walls. I've been told all the gamut of things about being a lesbian. And I still look at people and I'm like, I see you. And I think that that's the thing that has really shaped who I am. Like, we joke a lot. I have the 96 box of crayons with a little sharpener on it. Like, I have all the range of feelings. And that's also a superpower, because I can walk into a room and kind of tell exactly what's going on, And in that, I can really see the people for who they are. And that's, through all of this, that has been the thing that I hold to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And learning, because I've had to learn joy. Like, that's been my journey of doing the work. I'm really good at, like, things are okay, and I stay in that kind of gray. And I've had to learn joy, and being able to find that and see that and allow it to be there. That's been the biggest part of coming through all of this.
What brings you joy today? We'll talk broader today, because today is rainy and gross out, and you are like a solar panel. You need sun.
That's so bad. It's been so bad.
And the last several days, for those of you, I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but it's been raining for like the last 6 days
at
straight.
Least we got like 20 minutes of sunshine this morning, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no more sunshine for you.
So what brings you joy today?
Slow mornings bring me joy. So I've spent there's people this is totally like first world problem, the last 10 years waking up at 4 a.m. And I don't do that anymore. I wake up at 6. It's a whole new world. Slow mornings bring me so much joy, and also connection and being able to experiment with what my career could look like. That brings me a lot of joy. Not falling into the like, oh my gosh, I have to do this thing. Being like, no, I'm going to just do this today and see how it feels. That brings me a lot of joy. And then like my family. We have 2 pups. Mosley and I are in this really great theme. He's our dog. And we're in this really great theme of like waking up at 6, but like snuggling till 6:30. He like just snuggles in and we just hang out. It's pretty great.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So one of the things that I think you do a beautiful job of, and I'll take a little bit of credit for maybe the way that we came to how we maybe talk about this a little bit, but one of the things that I think you do and have done a really beautiful job of over the last few years is start to bloom a little bit more where you're planted. Because I think for a long time, I would say early in our relationship, you were like, get me the hell out of here.
Am I taking this and running with it?
Well, but I think one of the things that I've seen you do over the last couple of years is really start to embrace the people that you're surrounded by, the places that you're surrounded by, and like not being afraid to invest in those people, places, the things to do here, etc. And I'd be curious, what prompted that?
Well, if we go back to when you and I met, that was one of the most tumultuous times of my life. Hands down, like I can honestly say that. And I would say from 2020 to 2022 and a half to 3, it was a ride. And I wasn't prepared for that ride. Yeah, I can remember some of the conversations that you and I have had, and I was low. And so I was so wrapped in scarcity that I couldn't see. People talk about seeing the forest for the trees. I couldn't see the tree bark for the tree. Like I was in it. You know, not having that same amount of stress has been amazing. I mean, in 3 years, I bought a gym, went through COVID, got married 3 times, went through menopause, and spit me out on the other side. Closed a gym.
Married to the same person 3 times, 3 weddings.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I feel like
in 3 years, I went through 3 people. No, I did not do that. We did COVID weddings. So we did one at my parents' house, one here in Fargo, and one at her parents' house. And that was all from July till the end of August. And then did not realize that my hormones were playing a fun little game. And so most people underachieve and go through menopause in about 7 years. I overachieved and did it in 2. So that was just a wild ride. And so now things feel like I'm getting better at being in calm. Yeah. I used to be like, I thrive in chaos. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to thrive in chaos anymore. Yeah, I did. I didn't thrive, but I was in it.
The stress levels when you're in chaos make you feel like you can do it, but then you get out of it and you're like, oh,
wow.
Zoinks.
Yeah. And so that was an experience.
So when I asked you about your pride story, one of the things that you had mentioned was your resiliency. And what is fun about this pride story so far is with like every piece that you've shared, it has really kind of come back to that underscoring of resiliency. Where does that resiliency come from?
My mom told me the other day, she's like, we come from a line of hard women.
I could see her saying this.
Yeah. And that's also something that it's fun because like that is deeply a part of me. And I also feel like I'm closing that chapter, which is really, really cool. And it comes from my family. It comes from, you know, I grew up in a town of 400 people, single mom meets stepdad. We moved to the farm. So then you're in farm life. So yeah, it definitely comes from that. And it's a part of me that I'm so proud of and also ready to see what the next chapter looks like. Yeah.
So let's talk about that next chapter.
Yeah.
What's the next chapter for Mo look like?
Oh gosh, it looks like more joy. It looks like more play. It looks like slowing down a little bit. And that doesn't mean not working hard. That just means being... A word I used to think I hated was boundaries. Oh, they're beautiful. They're lovely. I really enjoy them. So more of those. It looks like more just quality time with people. So I owned a gym here in Fargo and I closed, sold, let it die. All of those things happened. And in that, there was a lot of opportunity for people to say whatever they wanted to say. And so that drug me down a little bit further through the process. So it's been fun to, like you say, bloom where you're playing it, but like, I feel like I'm re-emerging. I feel like that setting that down and then like being able to just really enjoy things for the sake of enjoying things. Yeah. So I don't know exactly where it's going yet, but I'm really excited with the way things are turning out so far.
more joy, more fun, more play. Sounds like a darn good time.
Yeah. Can't be too bad.
Final question. As you think about your experiences through your pride story, through your stories of resiliency, through meeting your wife, getting married 3 different times to the same person.
Same person. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. What are you grateful for?
Oh, so much. You know, it's interesting. I'm grateful. I'm most grateful for our little bubble. Like, we've created an amazing little bubble to include our dogs, to include our house. We absolutely love it. To include our friends, our family, chosen family, and blood family. I am grateful for the ability to write my story. I watch so many people get caught in the shoulds, you know, and that's something that I have rebelled against since I was a kid. My mom used to ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I'd say retired. And so I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to write my own story. Yeah.
Mo, if people want to connect with you, if they want to connect with any of your podcasts, where do they find you?
On Instagram, Sara.Mozingo. On Instagram for our podcast is We Train for Life. And yeah, those are the places that I hang out.
Sara Mozingo, thank you for joining us for a second time on Pride Stories and your very first Pride Story podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
We loved having you here, and thanks for the great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Pride Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Max Kingan, and it's been an honor to bring this story to your ears. Pride Stories is proudly presented by Tellwell Story Co in studio. We have an incredible team that makes this podcast possible every single week. If you've been inspired, moved, or entertained by anything you've heard in this episode, please consider supporting our mission. You can do that by subscribing to the podcast, leave a 5-star review, or simply share it with a friend or family member. Your support helps keep the stories alive and resonating. And if you feel compelled to share your own Pride story, we'd be honored to listen. Please visit the link in the description of this episode to get in touch. No matter where you are in your journey, whether you're out and proud or just finding your voice, remember, you have a story to tell and it deserves to be heard.